You're tuned in for another deep dive, and today we're tackling something really fundamental, but, incredibly impactful. How to introduce yourself effectively in English.
Yeah, those first moments.
Exactly. Think about stepping into a new job, or maybe joining a course, or just, striking up a conversation. That first introduction, it really sets the stage.
It absolutely does. First impressions count for a lot.
So, our goal in this deep dive is pretty straightforward.
Really?
Equip you with some real practical skills to, make those first impressions count, whatever the situation.
Absolutely. And we've been digging into a really helpful resource for this, haven't we, from PodNest?
We have.
It's called How to Introduce Yourself in English, Real-Life Conversation, and Smart Tips. And it lays out a really clear path, offers some smart advice.
Good stuff.
So that's what we're exploring. We'll kick things off with the basic building blocks, right?
Essentials.
Then look at how they actually work in a real conversation.
Okay.
We'll share some tips for, sounding more confident.
Always useful.
And finally, touch on how you might need to switch things up depending on where you are, the context.
Okay, sounds like a plan. So let's dive right into those foundational elements then, the building blocks.
Right.
Our source breaks down a basic self-introduction into 5 pretty simple steps. And what's neat is how adaptable they are.
They really are.
First up, the greeting.
Yeah. Step 1. The article suggests keeping it simple. Just a hi or a hello.
Right.
It's direct, everyone gets it, and you kind of avoid any awkwardness, like being too formal or too casual right away.
Keeps it clear. Approachable.
Exactly. From word 1.
Okay, step 2 then is sharing your name. The source mentions I'm name or my name is name. Seems obvious, but...
Well, yeah, but saying it clearly and at a decent pace, that's key, isn't it?
It really is. You want people to actually catch it.
Precisely. It's like the anchor for the whole thing. If they miss your name, the rest feels a bit shaky.
Huh.
So speaking clearly, maybe even just a touch slower than usual, that can make a huge difference.
Good tip. Okay, step 3 takes us to origin. Where you're from. Like, I'm from country, or I live in the city.
Yeah.
Why is this one so common, do you think? So important.
Well, what's interesting there is how quickly it can spark a connection, right?
Ah, okay.
Maybe the person you're meeting knows your city or they've traveled to your country. It just gives this immediate piece of info that can, get more conversation going. Plus, it helps sort of contextualize you a little bit.
That makes sense. It's like offering a little piece of your story, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay, following that, step 4 is about your profession or role. I'm a student, or I work as a job title.
Yeah, this helps define what you're kind of currently focused on.
Right.
And in many settings like work or study, this is pretty crucial info. Helps people understand your focus, maybe where your expertise is.
Yeah.
Even just socially, knowing what someone does can sometimes lead to, shared interests or connections too.
True. And the final step in this basic structure, adding a personal detail.
A hobby or an interest. Like, I enjoy hobby.
How does this help round out the introduction?
Well, this is where you kind of move beyond just the facts, right? And start showing a bit more personality. Sharing a hobby makes you more relatable, more memorable, maybe.
Gives them something to connect with.
Exactly. On a more personal level, the example they use is, I love traveling, which is great because loads of people enjoy travel.
Right.
So it can easily lead to talking about places you've been, experiences, that kind of thing.
So if we put all 5 steps together, we get that example. Hi, I'm Leo. I'm from Spain. I work in marketing, and I love traveling. It feels concise, friendly, informative. What is it about that combination that just works?
Well, if we think about that bigger goal, making a good first impression, this example nails several key things.
Okay.
It's friendly, approachable, the hi helps there, clearly states who he is, where he's from, potential connection points, gives the professional context marketing, and then that personal bit, the traveling, adds a human touch, makes him seem, more well-rounded. Interesting.
Yeah, it's balanced. Covers the basics without being too much.
Exactly. It lays the groundwork for a real chat.
Right. Okay, so that's the framework. Now let's see how this might actually play out. Our source has a sample dialogue, which I think really brings these steps to life.
Yes, let's walk through it. It starts with Emma taking the initiative.
Okay.
She says, "Hi, I'm Emma. What's your name?"
Very straightforward, very welcoming. Direct, but friendly.
And David replies, "Hey, Emma. I'm David. Nice to meet you." So hey is a little less formal than hi, maybe.
A little, yeah, but totally fine for a first meeting like this. And
Yeah.
nice to meet you, standard, polite, shows he's open to the chat.
Good start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then Emma follows up. Nice to meet you too. Where are you from? See how she builds on it, shows interest, moves to that origin step we talked about.
Keeps it moving. And David responds, I'm from London. I'm an engineer. What about you? So he answers, gives his origin and profession, following that structure.
And then throws it back to her. Keeps the conversational ball rolling.
That's key, isn't it? That reciprocity. Asking, what about you? Shows he's actually interested in her, not just broadcasting about himself.
Good point. Then Emma says, I'm a student from Toronto. I'm studying biology. Again, mirroring David origin, current role.
And notice she adds a bit more detail biology.
Oh, yeah.
Which could spark more conversation if David knows anything about that or is interested.
Right. David then shows interest as, that's cool. What do you enjoy doing in your free time? And that's the shift, right, to the personal detail.
Exactly. Moving beyond the facts, this is where it can get a bit more engaging, more personal, finding common ground.
Building connection.
Precisely.
Emma replies, I like reading and hiking. And you? Shares her interests, invites him to share his, keeps that back and forth going.
Good flow. And David wraps up this bit with, I love cooking and watching movies. It's simple, but it perfectly shows how a natural chat can just unfold from those basic introduction steps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
What really stands out to you about the rhythm of that dialogue?
I think it's the balance. Both people ask questions, both share info pretty much equally. There's that clear progression, basic ID, then origin role, then personal stuff. And importantly, it feels natural. It doesn't sound like they're reading a script.
No, definitely not.
There's like a genuine curiosity there. It really highlights that a good intro isn't about a perfect speech. It's about opening the door for, a real interaction.
Exactly. And I think that feeling natural part is where a lot of people struggle, right?
Oh, for sure.
So what are some actual things people can do to feel and sound more confident when introducing themselves in English? Our source had some really practical tips here.
Yes, it did. And the first one is deceptively simple. Practice speaking out loud in front of a mirror.
Okay. Why do you think that basic exercise helps so much?
Well, it's like a rehearsal, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
You see your expressions, your posture, you hear your voice, but without the pressure of someone else actually being there. Lets you tweak things, get comfortable just doing it.
Makes sense. You become more aware of the nonverbal stuff.
Totally. Are you smiling? Do you look open? And it helps you get used to the sound of your own voice speaking English, which can feel a bit weird at first sometimes.
I can see that. Okay, tip 2. Consciously focus on speaking slowly and clearly. Why is that especially helpful if you're nervous?
Well, when we're nervous, we tend to speed up, right?
Yeah, rush through it.
Which can lead to mumbling or messing up words. Slowing down gives you time to articulate properly. It lets the other person actually understand you.
Which probably makes you feel more confident in return.
Exactly. Because
Right.
you feel heard and understood. It builds on itself.
Okay, clarity breeds confidence. Got it.
Yeah.
Tip 3 emphasizes smiling. How does just smiling help with confidence?
Oh, a smile is incredibly powerful. It just signals warmth, openness, approachability. Even if you're feeling butterflies inside, a genuine smile makes you look more confident. And apparently there's science too. Smiling can release endorphins, actually making you feel better, more confident inside.
Wow, okay. Simple, but effective. And that ties into the 4th tip, using gestures and open body language, especially face-to-face.
Yeah, think about it. Someone slumped over, avoiding eye contact. They don't seem very confident, do they?
Not really, no.
Using natural hand gestures, keeping an open posture, like not crossing your arms, it makes you seem more engaged, more trustworthy, more confident.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
Then comes a really important one, I think. Don't worry about mistakes.
For sure.
Everyone makes them, especially when learning. Why is embracing that imperfection so key?
Because that fear of messing up, it can totally freeze you, stop you from speaking at all.
Yeah.
The reality is, most people are understanding. They appreciate you're making the effort in English. Getting stuck on one little error just breaks your flow and tanks your confidence. It's way better to just keep going, focus on getting your message across.
That's such a good reminder. Progress, not perfection. Okay, and the final confidence tip. Record yourself speaking and listen back. That sounds maybe a bit awkward.
It can feel a bit daunting, yeah. But it's such a valuable tool for self-checking.
How so?
When you listen back, you might notice things you just weren't aware of while speaking. Maybe you talk too fast in certain parts or use filler words, like a lot.
Okay.
Spotting those things lets you consciously work on them. It's like getting objective feedback on your own speaking habits.
Right. So these are all really practical steps, not about instant fixes, but consistent effort, small adjustments.
Exactly. And together they can make a really big difference in how confident, how natural you sound when you introduce yourself.
Which is the goal.
Precisely. And mastering these basics gets even more important when you realize introductions aren't, one size fits all.
Right. You need to adapt.
The way you introduce yourself definitely needs to change depending on the situation.
Yeah, our source highlights a few key scenarios where you'd need a slightly different approach. Let's start with a formal one, like a job interview. What works best there?
Okay, the example given is, "Good morning. My name is Rami. I'm a software developer with 3 years of experience in web development." What jumps out at you there compared to our basic Leo example?
Well, the greeting's more formal good morning. And crucially, it includes specific professional stuff, job title, relevant experience. Very focused on his qualifications.
Exactly right. In an interview, your main goal is showing you're right for the job. So your intro should highlight relevant skills, experience straight away, sets a professional tone, gives the interviewer key info immediately.
Makes sense. Now shift gears, a more informal setting like starting a new class or a workshop. How's that different?
The example is, "Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, I'm from Turkey, and I'm really excited to learn with you all."
Okay, so hi everyone, more casual greeting.
Yep. And she includes her origin, Turkey, which can help build connections with classmates, And importantly, she expresses enthusiasm about the situation, being excited to learn together.
That feels right for that context. Friendly, open, creates a welcoming vibe. Less about qualifications, more about connecting with peers.
Exactly. And finally, what about a really casual meeting, like bumping into someone at a social thing?
What's the advice there?
The source gives a super brief example. "Hey, I'm Josh. I live nearby. Nice to meet you."
Okay, hey, very informal.
Very. And the personal detail is just that he lives nearby, which, could be a conversation starter if the other person's local too.
Short, friendly, very specific to just a casual encounter.
Exactly.
So it seems like even though the formality, the lengths, the specific details change quite a bit, job interview versus classroom versus bumping into someone, those core elements, name, maybe origin, a little bit about you, they're still kind of there underneath it all, aren't they?
That's the key takeaway, I think. You have that basic framework in your back pocket.
Right.
And then you learn how to tweak it, adapt it for the specific situation and what you want to achieve in that interaction. It's about being thoughtful, What info matters most here? What impression do I want to make?
Well, you've definitely joined us for a thorough deep dive into, the art and science of introducing yourself effectively in English.
It's such an important skill.
It really is. We've looked at that 5-step structure, seen how it works in a natural chat, dug into some really valuable tips for boosting confidence.
And some practical stuff.
And considered how to tailor intros for different settings. All thanks to those insights from the PodNest article.
And, as the source reminds us, learning a language, it's a journey, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Every single time you introduce yourself, every sentence you manage to get out there, you are moving forward. You're making progress. Consistent practice, just being willing to try, that's absolutely crucial.
Couldn't agree more. So here's maybe a final thought for everyone to chew on. Think about the different situations you might face soon where you'll need to introduce yourself.
Yeah, personalize it.
Could be a formal networking thing, a casual language exchange, just meeting someone new down the street. How can you take that basic framework we talked about, grab those confidence tips, and really consciously adapt them to make a great first impression in each of those unique spots?
It's all about being prepared, right, but also authentic, and just grabbing those opportunities to connect.